Good morning, everyone. Yes. My name's Chef Martin. I'm the General Manager of National Field Support for Mitsubishi Motors. As a bit of a disclaimer, I'm new to customer experience. So my background's logistics, supply chain, warehousing. So it's an actual honour to be able to come up in front of everyone today and talk about the innovations and the journey that we've been on from a customer experience perspective, leveraging knowledge and livepro technology, and heading into the future with AI. So, bit of an agenda. Oh, there we go. Kick off. Other disclaimer is we talk a lot about livepro and how easy they are to deal with, how they've assisted us along the way to get us to where we are now. Brad hasn't paid me for this. I don't work for livepro, but I think for anyone who's using livepro, you really understand the way the team interacts, the way that they're easy to deal with, and the way they support your business. Anyone who's not using livepro, hopefully get a better understanding of that from the presentation today. So I'm going to go back and talk about the journey. I think I don't always like going backwards, but in this instance, we started from a very low base back in 2020 when I took on this role and took on this team. I want to talk about where we are now and probably the fun stuff where we're heading from here. As we all know, there's a lot of fun stuff happening with AI. There's a lot of stuff happening in our space, but unless you've got the right foundations and the right base to leverage that off of, you're not really going to get the most out of it. And then what's the point? So why are we doing this? So as a starting point, 2020, I was asked to move out of my supply chain role and look after the customer experience team. Without having a background in this space, engaged a consultant to come out and undertake a bit of a review on our contact centre. And I had a bit of a gut feel that we didn't really have good process, systems, procedures, or really understanding of what best practice looked like. So as a result of that audit, very quickly we understood we had a lot of work to do. We were using SAP CRM. We implemented that in 2013. We hadn't actually used any of the features in that. We hadn't evolved it. It wasn't integrated into our systems. We had 10 different systems that our agents were using to answer customers' inquiries. So you can imagine, jumping from screen to screen. We didn't have knowledge. When we were asked about knowledge to us was a 70-page Word document sitting on someone's laptop or the information that was sitting in our agents' heads. And our agents thought they were really good because they knew it. They weren't willing to share it and didn't want to take on board that information was updating daily, weekly, monthly, annually. So we had a bit of a predicament. And I know when I met with Brad and said, we need knowledge, Brad's probably going, this guy doesn't even know what he's talking about, because I just said, I need knowledge. I don't know what that is. But we learned very quickly the importance of knowledge. And working in a sales and marketing organisation and going to management committee and going, we need to invest in knowledge management. They go, why? What is that? So it was quite a journey for us to actually build that importance on knowledge, single source of the truth. And retrospectively now, within our organisation, we're actually leading knowledge, and we are struggling to transition the rest of the business on that same journey because, buzzword now is AI. We're going to be more effective, more efficient, and across our wider business, there's a view that we need to adapt that. With still a lack of understanding of, well, what are you actually going to, tie that to? Where's your single source of the truth? And in fact, there's probably a view that it self-learns. AI can teach itself. So we're on that journey. Operational KPIs, we had one. Service level, we had no quality standards. So for someone like myself coming in, it's easy because we're on a very low base. So do anything, it makes you look better. But I said to the team, I said, I can get 100% service level. And they said, how? I said, hello, goodbye, because there was no quality. Processes, don't need to talk about that. And we had no understanding of what best practice was, and probably more importantly, we had no roadmap, no vision of where we wanted to be or what we wanted to be. That was in 2020. Now, we've got a roadmap which we put into place 2021. A big part of that was knowledge management. And as Brooke mentioned, we've got Nicole, who is our knowledge management specialist. We put that role in again, got challenged on it. Why do you need that? What's knowledge? You've built it, let it go. But it was a bit of a journey to get the team and our management committee to understand that you need to keep feeding it. If you don't feed it, it will die. You'll lose that trust. People will lose trust and stop using it. Just with that roadmap, we had 25 key projects back in 2021. We've delivered 16 of those projects already, and they were key projects. One of them being Microsoft Dynamics, which we rolled out this year. Moving from SAP CRM, and put that in perspective, we haven't had support for that system since 2015. We had we had 10 screens that we're trying to operate. We now use 2 systems, Microsoft Dynamics. We've interfaced into all our other systems. We're still using Genesis Cloud as a secondary screen. And in both instances, we've now tied back in livepro into both of those, and I'll talk about that shortly. We've now got a full suite of operational KPIs and standards. We've measured quality standards, first call, resolution, all those standard things you would expect to see in a contact centre. And we now even have wallboards. So we've come a long way in 3 years. Best practice, I think we're still on the way there. And if I look at our transition with our CRM or dynamic CRM, we put that in, it was a 6-month development window. We got told it takes 12 months. We did it in 6, we're a little bit ambitious. We're still going through that change management piece, and the biggest challenge we found there was the legacy team members were trying to make that system work the same way as the old system did. So we're trying to bed that out. It's a bit of a challenge, and I'm sure others have seen that. And probably for us, the most exciting piece now is we've got a really good base and platform to start doing the fun stuff. So we're now stretching, going, well, how do we become more effective, more efficient? I'm not sure about other businesses in the room, but we've seen 16% growth year on year for interactions. We still have limited interaction channels. We have no self-help solutions on our website. So all of our customers that have an inquiry or have something to do with their account or their vehicle are going to come through our contact centre. We're a sales marketing organisation. We're not going to be given more resource to continue to grow our contact centre or our customer experience team. So it's important that we actually start to really focus on that AI technology and leverage the base that we've been building. So what's next? Some of this is already underway. I mentioned self-help on our website. Part of our direction around creating and delivering a new CRM was enabling self-help for our customers on our website. And we're actually working on this at the moment, and we'll have it in by the end of our financial year, which is March next year. And we anticipate 30% of our volume will actually be able to self-help through the website going forward. So for us, that's a significant change. Second to that, we're partnering with livepro to enable future innovation. Now, that's quite a broad statement. And I say partner because we've got a number of suppliers and providers that we work with closely. One thing I've found with livepro, and for anyone that uses livepro, I'm sure you already experienced this, is when we meet with the team from livepro, they ask, what are your problems? What are the things you're trying to deal with? And 9 times out of 10, they've already got some sort of solution sitting in their back pocket. They go, have you thought of this? Would this help? And a good example of that was a few weeks ago, we were in Sydney, and we were having a coffee with, I think it was with Brad at the time, and we're talking about emails and the effort we go through to resolve emails. He goes, we've got a product that could automate some of that for you. Straight away, my ears pop up, and so, well, how do we get onto that? So within 3 days of that discussion, we had a demo on this solution. 3 days later, we had a working example in our test environment where we could actually automate that. And we're going to do a bit of a live demonstration on that today on how effective that is. And that's leveraging the technology that we started building in Dynamics, and then the knowledge database that we have in livepro that then drives that. Actually, I forgot to talk about Moogle. Sorry, Nicole. Our knowledge management solution is called Moogle. It's the Mitsubishi Google. And so we've moved from that 70-page Word document and what's in people's heads to that. So we only have a small team. In our inbound, we have 9 people. Our case management team is about 7 or 8 people. We currently have about 600 knowledge articles in there, and annually we're getting about 85,000 views on that, and we anticipate that to continue to grow. So sorry, Nicole, I should have got that one out there. Like most organisations, we're looking to roll out more AI assistant tools for agents. Initially, we thought our agents might be a little bit nervous with that and not overly comfortable automating some of that task. Recently, we had a bit of a team update and shared some of that technology that's coming. And we shared it in a way that it's here to help you. And the instant feedback we got was, can't wait for it, when can we get it? So we're actually really excited as that starts to evolve. And we know some of that will come through our telephony and through Dynamics. But in the interim, and for now, what we're seeing is we're getting a lot of this functionality and technology right now through livepro and the team at livepro and some of the products that they've already designed or in the process of designing at the moment. So we'll go through some of those in a minute just to share some of the work we've done in conjunction with livepro. And that's, for me, that's that partnering piece, and it's not something you always get with any organisation. Anyone we deal with in livepro, we have that same sort of feel. And if we look at your problems we're trying to solve, we had Brooke out a few weeks ago, and as much as we use knowledge and livepro at the moment in our contact centre, as our organisation wants to pivot and move towards AI efficiency tools, we're going, well, how do we support the knowledge? How do we get that single source of the truth? Because as much as we have that in a SharePoint aspect, the framework around that, the governance just isn't there. So how do we bring that in? And if we look at broader against our business, knowledge sits in Word documents, PDF files, people's laptops, people's heads, and emails. So how do we start to capture all that and build a knowledge base that could support that AI? And then Brooke gave us this idea, said, well, we have Lightspeed. I go, okay, what's Lightspeed? And I've just noticed it down there on the flyer. As a way we can ingest, information into a usable format that can then be used for AI. So we're like, cool, how do we get that? And I think within 2 or 3 days, we were demoing that. So I've got another slide on that, so I'll talk about that in a minute. And finally, for us, was the livepro Copilot, which is probably the most exciting thing that we've seen to date, which was off the back of that coffee we had with Brad, where we're automating some of the email responses. And we've just recently put that into production for some of our agents to start testing in a real live environment and then review before accepting it. But I'll get Nicole to run a bit of a demo on that shortly so you can have a better view. All right, so this is livepro Agent Assist. I just want to give a bit of an overview of this. So this is in our Genesis Cloud instance. Now we've got a widget in there that enables us to bring across knowledge. Now, we're bringing across knowledge based on the conversation that we're having with the customer. So we've got that transcript running at the moment. So we've got voice to text sitting in the background. AI is listening in on that call. And at the same time, at the same time as bringing up knowledge articles that potentially relate to that discussion that's been taking place. If you click on that, you then get, down the bottom, that sort of response there, which is the same format that we have in Moogle. So it's like for like. So if you've been using Moogle in our business, you now get that same like for like in the actual widget. If the information and knowledge that's coming up during that discussion isn't necessarily relevant, there's a search bar there. We can actually type that in as well. So it saves us having to go back out of our system into another system. It's live, so it's feeding up as we go. Now, I think earlier someone said livepro easy to deal with, or that's how they want to operate. To put this in perspective, this feature was put together by 3 people, including myself, Nicole, and one other of my team members in one of our meeting rooms. None of us have a technical background. We followed the link that livepro sent us on how to configure Genesis to deliver this. Now, livepro being livepro, they had a rocket on it. That was easy to follow steps. But within an hour, we'd almost configured this. And I say almost because we knew we were doing it without our systems people sort of endorsing it. And I got a little bit nervous at the end, had to ring them and tell them what we were doing. However, they said, no, keep going, proceed. Now, there was some other additional functionality we had to change in here, and the LivePro team came back with some suggestions, and we managed to get that up and running. So that's how simple we found it to implement this sort of technology. We haven't got it in production with the team just yet. It was something only in the last few weeks. We're just sort of finalising that, but getting it ready to go. So it was just something we wanted to share for today. Okay, LivePro Lightspeed. So I spoke before about ingesting knowledge for the wider business. We've got a lot of structure. We have templates. We have a process and a format for bringing knowledge into the contact centre. When we spoke to Brooke and said, look, we want to expand LivePro, we want to expand the capabilities and potentially a dynamic solution to offer more support and better answers for the wider business. But we said, look, it would take us weeks and months to develop the content and the knowledge and that single source of the truth. And this when she said, we've got Lightspeed. Put it in perspective, we ingested, I can't remember how many documents it was, but in 10 minutes we had usable knowledge. If we did that manually, it would have taken us a whole day to create that knowledge manually. So from our end, as much as this is still a new product for LivePro, it's something we saw value in and benefit in. And internally, for myself, it's still a challenge trying to get a wider understanding of knowledge and the importance of knowledge as we continue to move forward. And this is the tool that's going to help me, grow that better understanding within the business, as well as an acceptance of this isn't so hard anymore because we can just plug all these files in and get the level of detail and information we need to start launching the AI over the top. So that's our opportunity to expand. LivePro Copilot, this is effectively our email automation process. There's a few steps here that I want to highlight. If you look over there, Copilot email number 1, that's an automated email response to an email that we've had come in from a customer. Now, Russell Coit, he's on a PHEV adverts. I don't know if you've seen him. He's got a question about his cap price servicing. He sent it through. We've clicked one button and it's generated that email response. And Nicole's going to demonstrate that in a minute. We've also brought LivePro knowledge into Dynamics. And the second box here is how that information, how that knowledge starts to look compared to how it actually looks in LivePro or Moogle from our instance. So we've actually been able to replicate that same format, same structures into our Dynamics database. So I said we had 10 screens that we used to work between. We've now integrated all that back into one of 2. When we actually click through, it looks the same here. And then we've got a bonus Dynamics LivePro iframe down there. So while we're actually getting emails coming in from customers, the response happens on the right-hand side, and you'll see that in a minute in the demonstration that we've got. All right, so I'll get Nicole to come up. She's going to run the demonstration. I'm going to get Brooke over because Brooke's going to time it. So we're going to do 2 demonstrations here.
Timekeeper.
One is Nicole's going to use the LivePro assistant to respond to the email. We're going to time how long that takes, and then she's going to do it the old way, the old school way, and we're going to cut her off at the same time. So we'll see how we go. I'll just get out the way.
No pressure, Nicole. No pressure at all. Are you ready? Yes. Ready, set, go.
All right. So while Nicole's doing this, some of the other value we see out of this is, I'm not sure about other organisations, but we're in a sector that has a high churn of staff and high turnover. The cost of training is excessive. The time it takes to retrain new personnel. This almost lowers the entry level for new starters to come in. It creates consistency in response. It eliminates tone or can create tone because in that search box down the bottom there, when Nicole's typing add website link, you can make it more empathetic. Go, I want this to be more empathetic. I want it to be shorter. I want it to be more professional. I want it to be more casual. So we can start to get a greater level of consistency. And a person's ability to respond or write to an email starts to become a little bit easier. So from an entry-level perspective, over time starts to lower the entry point for staff into the contact center. So we see this as a real key moving forward for us, as well as the efficiencies, because she's just sent that back to Russell. So how long was that, Brooke?
That was a minute.
A minute, well done. All right, so Nicole's now going to do that the old-fashioned way. She's going to run it for a minute, and we'll see how far she gets.
All right, you ready? Go. I reset it. It's okay.
Now, to put it in simple terms, I mentioned before, my background's logistics, supply chain, warehousing. I can jump on there and respond to emails, and I think it took me 30 seconds to get trained in how to use it. And I'm not saying I can't email people, but it is that simple to undertake the new process. Nicole's under pressure, so she's actually probably going faster than what the agent would normally do it. Getting close.
Five seconds. Right, we're at a minute.
So we ran a demo on this. We had a video, and we thought it's probably better to do it live today. It was 5.5 minutes to respond to the email and look up all the information that was required for this type of email compared to the 1 minute it took to do using the livepro Agent Assist. So we see this as significant efficiency saving for us going forward. I mentioned before, we get 16% year-on-year growth. Our model, we have a 10-year warranty. We want to keep our customers in our business and in contact with us for much longer. We don't have a big team to deal with that, so we need to become more effective, more efficient. And right now, this is a real efficient tool for us, and one that internally has now actually shed more light on knowledge and the importance of knowledge going forward, and the effectiveness of AI if you have the correct base to undertake that journey. You can stop now, Nicole, it's okay. All right, so you can see the value in that straight away. And again, to get to that stage was about 6 days. It was 3 days from having a coffee with Brad to getting a demo. So the demo, I'm like, how quick can we get this? And put in perspective, we had a large amount of the livepro team working on it. We had James that would email overnight from New York. We had Luke and Lester in the background trying to work. We had our people working on it. It was about 6 to 7 days from having this discussion to actually using it in our system. And to me, that's great value and easy to work with and get great outcomes for us as an organisation. And like I said, I'm not getting paid. I'm not endorsed by Brad for any of this. I take the coffee. Actually, you did too. You did. So what's the point? I think we're probably no different in this space than everyone in the room. We're a customer-focused brand and business. We want to continue and grow that. If we go back to 2020, there's no way we could support the customer base that we support now effectively and efficiently. We also, as much as we sell vehicles and service vehicles, have a lot of legislative requirements and expectations from ACCC. We can't be misleading. Without that knowledge base, we put ourselves at risk. Effectively, we want to become more effective. We need to become more effective because we're not going to get that head count. We also want our customers to be able to deal with us in a different way. Currently, we operate 5 days a week, business hours. Our customers expect more than that. So when we go to our self-help model at the end of our financial year, we'll have 24/7 support for a larger percentage of our customers. So for us, it's important to do that. And we can't do that without knowledge, because some of that is going to be an AI-driven response to their questions and inquiries. I think I've covered the last two anyway. So, hopefully that's given you some insight into, what you can do with little resource. And I say little resource, we're probably more of an operationally led team and division, and we engage our systems people to come on the journey with us. If we'd listened to our systems people, I wouldn't be here and would be using SharePoint. And that was a battle in itself, so I won't talk about that today. Anything that we're driving, we've built an environment where it's driven from an operations perspective. So, today was just about trying to show some of the technology, the journey we've been on, technology we're currently using, how quickly you can pivot and move to a new state and a high level of automation. And from our end, we're just excited because every time we come to an event like this, we're learning more, seeing more, and getting better understanding of what's out there. So hopefully that was helpful for everyone today.
Thank you. Obviously, thanks, Jeff. That was really insightful. And everything you guys are doing in that innovation space, everybody knows Brad, he's just looking for a client with the excuse to want to do it, and he's then pulls us all into him. Okay, it's time to go. Let's do it. So we love working with you guys because you want to give everything a go.
Yeah. And we're excited because I think we're at that point now and the maturity, and we've got the systems and the foundation to be able to leverage that. Where 6 months ago, a year ago, or before when we were sitting in SAP CRM, there was no way we'd even entertain it. And everything was siloed. Now that's all come together. And for us, it's probably been a perfect storm because AI wasn't the word people were using back in 2020 when we started this journey. It was, unichannel, omnichannel. Omnichannel,
yeah.
is the
Multi-channel.
So
those buzzwords.
We were lucky that our roadmap did align to get us into a position where we could now start to play in that AI space, and it's perfect timing for us.
Questions?
With the system, with the AI, can it integrate with any kind of system? Because we don't use MS Dynamics for our email base, but we do other systems for that. So does it integrate there?
Probably a Brad question, I'd say.
Can you hear that noise? It's my developer saying, don't. It does depend on the system, but the future is you'll be getting the knowledge from livepro, using AI to deliver answers through any channel. What Microsoft has done is enabled Copilot to be able to get the information, personal information about Russell Coight and from the Dynamics, and then the information about the car from livepro, and actually come up with an email that actually answers the question. Yes, that can be done as long as you're using. Everybody can listen to this. Jeff isn't special. Jeff, he's not special. If anybody comes to me and says, "Hey, we want to do this," guess what? We jump into action. Macmillan Shakespeare had a phone call from them. What's today? Wednesday, Monday. Said, we're looking at doing some AI stuff, and we want to talk about Copilot. They're actually in the room today, and we've already sent them the information they need to get Agent Assist up, and then Copilot as well. This is what we get excited for. My team build these things, and we're just dying for people to use them. So as soon as somebody says, "Hey, we're interested," like Jeff, I say, "Don't move. The team's going to work with you." So I need to get a lot more detail before my developers shoot me, but I'm pretty certain, as long as the email system's modern, we'll be able to work something out.
I think on the flip side of that too, off the back of these discussions and us looking to adapt and potentially test and trial some of these solutions, we've also fed back and said, "It'd be good if we could see this," and and we've probably been a little bit too aggressive on that. Brad probably going to settle down, but we go, "Well, can we make this happen?" Or new ways to create knowledge, or so at the same time, we're feeding back as well, hoping that that will then start to enable future development that makes it even better again. So, and that's, when I talk about business partnership or partner with LivePro for this, it's because they're listening as well. So I know I'm not special, but
Good question here, Jeff.
So with the emails that staff don't have to write themselves, have you noticed any feedback from your customers in terms of the emails they're now receiving, in that whether it's positive feedback, or have you noticed that are the emails, do they have a lot more detail and are they clearer, so it's that first contact resolution and they're not having to reply and then it goes back and forth, 3-4 times? Has there been any data looked at there?
it's a really good question. I'm going to reach across to Nicole. And to be fair, we've got, I think, 2 agents that are using this in production at the moment to get a gauge. So I haven't received any feedback, so I don't think we've had any feedback around the quality, but the internal feedback around the consistency has been positive. I think too, for some of our staff, they weren't always happy to do the email responses as well, because again, you're authoring a new response every time. So you have to, it's like myself, I don't like doing birthday cards, but they get this response that's simple for them. It's like a Copilot, so it's not autopilot. You still have to go in and double check and make sure. But we haven't had any feedback that says that's gone, it should be left and it's gone right. The feedback has been consistently correct. Sometimes it needs a little bit more information, but that's where you can type that in and go include the link to the website. So it's probably too early to give you a response on that, but the internal feedback has been extremely positive. So, yeah.
And sorry, I'll just add to that as well. Jeff mentioned about consistency in messaging and I'm sure everyone in a contact centre understand the turnover with new staff. Having that consistent message, so if one customer gets a response from John, he will get the same response from another agent. So that consistency is really important. If it's a member that's been in the contact centre for 10 years versus one that's just hit the ground running in 1 week, the customer's going to get the same response. So I think that's a massive change and helps the team, gives them more confidence, as well as the workload. Like Jeff mentioned about phone calls and emails, they're under pressure. We've got limited staff. If they can churn through emails really quickly, having that base level of information straight away, and then they can flex on it. They can adapt, edit the response if they need dates, things like that they can put in. Adding a website link, that was easy. You saw it in the demonstration. So yeah, it's crazy not to jump in and use the Copilot. So
you may not have the answer to this yet because it's just started, but was there any data or breakdown of how much time it will save? Like how much time is spent on emails now? Because I know we spend a lot of time responding and just thinking of what to say.
We've done a forecast for next financial year. And effectively, and I think we're a little bit conservative on it because we're sort of sharing it with our management committee, but it was 1 person at 40 weeks worth of time saving. So effectively it took 40 weeks of one person out of doing emails. Reality is I think it's probably bigger than that. We're being a little bit conservative. The demo that we did today, it was 5.5 minutes compared to a minute. So it's probably bigger than that. But yeah, internally we've shared it's about 40 weeks for one person saving.
That's incredible.
Yeah. And to put it in perspective, straight away our business said, oh, well, how many heads do I get back? And I said, no. It's about building efficiency, because then I had to also then build in what does the next 3 years look like from interactions. We're going to hold our customers for longer. We're getting 16% year-on-year growth on interaction. You're not going to give me any more people. I've got to build that capacity expansion to be able to do that. And then with a greater focus on knowledge, we're going to have to transition people from being agents to now constructing knowledge, because we need more knowledge, because we're going to have more of that automated response. So again, it's taken time where sales and marketing don't necessarily understand the back end, but it's an education piece. And I think for us, because we are trying to now build this across other parts of our business, it's sort of helping us get there a little bit quicker.
Hi, Jeff, and probably the Livepro team. Commercially speaking, what does the integration with things like Copilot and MS Dynamics mean from a licensing point of view?
From a Dynamics perspective, and I'll let Brad talk about the Livepro side, we were fortunate because the licensing that we already have includes the functionality that we require from an AI perspective. Initially, we weren't sure if that was the case, and we thought we might have been up for another $150 per person per annum from a license perspective. But internally, we were lucky just due to the nature of the licensing we already had. So for us, there was no additional cost impact from a Dynamics, but I'll let Brad to talk the commercial terms.
Yeah, so the way that Dynamics works is that we scrape all the knowledge from livepro into Dynamics. It depends on how dynamic your knowledge is as to how often that needs to happen, and that's where the pricing is. But generally speaking, you're only going to need to do it once a day, and you're looking at about $1,800 a month. That's it. Think about the saving. What about the ROI on that?
Yeah, and for us, we're always a cost-savvy business, like all businesses. You want to put that cost forward. There was no one even shrugged an eyelid. So, it's reasonable given the return on investment.
Hi, I'm just wondering as well, with regards to the use of AI and the new privacy reforms that are being discussed around that security with the integrations, around the use of people's data and the breaches. How did you get around that with regards to getting over the line with management?
Yeah, look, from our end, we only put the AI over knowledge that doesn't include any personal information. So we keep that separate. So in that example that came through, we had an email come through from a customer. There's a response to the customer that only has the name, but it's not bringing any other details through. So when we actually looked at that, because there was a few things that we're concerned about. One is privacy, so we don't want customers' information available or visible. And the information that we are providing needs to be accurate, because if we're misleading as an automotive OEM, again, we can be hit with large fines. So from our end, we tied it to that data. Customer data just sits off to the side.
And from Livepro's perspective, we've always been able to comfortably say, you know what, we don't hold personal data. We only have product, process and procedure knowledge. But now with AI, with us listening into calls and actually popping the answer to agents, or being a part of the chat and popping the answer to agents, now we had to be careful because we could be accidentally ingesting personal information. So we got turned to AI, and we've now got Livepro Redact. So in real time, it's actually looking for any personal information, and it automatically redacts that from our database. So it's not actually saved. Anything more technical than that, I've got my safety net developers here to answer the questions. But it's a really good question, and it is a very important component of AI and privacy.
James wants to finish that response.
I just want to add on to that. I guess from an AI perspective, it really depends on your implementation and how you're going to do it, which I'll sort of talk through in the upcoming roadmap. But in this example, you're ingesting the Livepro data into Dynamics, which already holds all your customer PII, all that really sensitive information. So Microsoft already has all those safeguards in place. So they're just sort of supplementing that customer data with the knowledge responses. Whereas if you're trying to combine it in another system, it's really going to depend on where that's housed. From a Livepro perspective, some of the stuff I'm going to show you, it's all models that are internally hosted on our own environment, so nothing gets sent out externally anywhere else. It's all sort of within your environment where all the data is, so there's sort of no risks or leaking of information externally. So it will depend on how you're doing it. I just wanted to clarify that.
Hi. Just with the Copilot, I'm curious about how you actually tested it. Did you actually test it with
like family and friends writing in emails abstract so that you had different styles coming in to know how to respond?
Yeah, look, it's a good question. When we put it into test, we didn't have a lot of production knowledge sitting in there. So we actually had to bring knowledge across. So we brought across some knowledge and we wrote specific questions relating to the knowledge we knew we had. And then we're going, well, that gives us only such a small picture. And I mentioned before that we've moved it into production for 2 agents. That's probably more our test in a production environment because we are getting now real inquiries. It's pulling across all of our knowledge base, and those agents have been with us for some time, so they're experienced in responding to emails. So that automated response, they're actually sitting there going, yeah, that's correct, that makes sense, they can send it back. So we had limited testing in test. We're sort of testing in production at the moment, if that makes sense. So we are now getting real live test cases coming through, but with the safety net of experienced team members who are actually responding using that method.
This is probably more of a question for livepro, but where you've got multiple categories all working out of the same Genesis platform, how do you limit the articles that are being popped up through the livepro integration?
So the login of the agent is tied to their role in livepro, so they're linked. So it will only generate the responses for the information that they've got access to. So that's sort of one way. If they're handling multiple inquiries, you can also limit it based on, say we know that this customer's called this particular brand number, we can limit the information that's being returned through there to that particular brand, for example. So there's a few different ways you can do it, but it is still permission controlled. No worries. Also, I will add to that too, when you do ingest, you can also determine which knowledge gets ingested, because obviously you might not want all the information in there that's going to, internal information be generating responses for customers.
Hi, sorry, this is going to come from a non-technical and might be more for livepro, but I'm just wanting to understand if Copilot can be integrated with Genesis through the email queue within, sorry, let me rephrase that. Can Copilot emails with livepro be put into, there's an email queue within Genesis, can that all integrate into and do the same thing within Genesis itself?
So Copilot's version, Copilot's version is their own sort of version of it that they host. They just take our data and then they sort of generate responses. So Genesis sort of have different tools that you can use for that as well, but we also do have some fun things coming up that you should be able to combine data in that way and generate responses through there as well. I don't think we've tested it so far with the email piece because most of our customers use chat or voice through there. But happy to have a conversation and see what we can do to do that because, we love that sort of stuff. Yeah. Very happy, Brad's saying. Yeah. Anyone else? Okay. Thank you so much, Jeff.